My name is Natalie, and this video is going to be about sexual violence and law enforcement. These are sensitive topics, so I'm going to link resources from Rain below, which includes a hotline if you need somebody to talk to. ASU students have had ongoing protests about the school's mishandling of sexual assault.
Statistically, there's pretty much no place in the entire world where you are more likely to get sexually assaulted than in a frat party.
This raises the question of how we can best address it, both at the school and the United States as a whole. Most people think that the justice system deters sexual violence. But in reality, police and prisons are major perpetrators of rape culture and victim blaming. I'm going to argue that instead of punishment, we need to focus on prevention, accountability, and rehabilitation. Many people we know are victims. This means that we also know and love the perpetrators. If we can change the way that we think about harm, it will help you hold loved ones accountable. I'm a sociology major and a community organizer, and I'm very interested in preventing harm to make the world a better place. I wrote a 25-page expanded research paper on this topic, and I'll link it below if you want to do more research. Alright, so I'm going to start by analyzing the current system, how it does harm, and how we can reimagine justice. The current justice system rarely holds people accountable. The NSVRC says that rape is the most underreported crime. So why aren't people reporting? Well, sexual violence is usually committed by someone the victim knows, so they don't want to send them to court for extreme punishment. Using the courts is also extremely traumatizing to the victim. It exposes them to public scrutiny and victim blaming. Even if people do report, it's unlikely to do anything. Many rape kits go untested, meaning that there's no evidence for the court. Consent and trauma are complicated, and it's rarely explained by an entirely guilty and an entirely innocent person. When we talk about sexual violence in principle, the law and public opinion are quick to say the perpetrator should get the absolute worst of the worst. In practice, we hear things like, we can't ruin his life. Especially, and sometimes only, when the perpetrator is very privileged.
But the image of an assaulter or an abuser that we're taught to fear doesn't look like rich white men. Often it looks like a stranger on the streets of a poor neighborhood or a black neighborhood.
The criminalization of sexual violence has led to a cultural belief that women lie about assault in order to imprison people. Clearly, the justice system is not addressing the problem. Now I'm going to explain how it actually contributes to sexual violence. Prisons perpetrate rape culture. We think that we've removed rapists from society, but the reality is that we're just shifting that violence to what we perceive as a deserving victim. Sexual abuse in prisons is used as a threat, as we can see with dropping the soap jokes in media.
You know, if somebody drops the soap, it's gonna land on our heads and crush our spines, Morty. You know, it'll be really easy to rape us after that.
Bring the 7-Up. Everyone is your friend. Okay, that's enough being friends. Where you guys going?
Jason Leiden says, the administration believes rape and sexual assault is just a part of prison. It is a type of punishment not to punish you for your crime, but for being different, for being gay or trans or deaf, or just for being passive. Although it's largely unwritten punishment, there are laws which encode prison rape culture as a form of punishment. Sexual misconduct is the second most reported complaint against police officers, likely shaped by the fact that sexual relations with a detainee is not explicitly non-consensual in 34 states. Angela Davis argues that penetrative and required strip searches are simply routinized sexual assault. Jokes about the bend and cough make it easy for us to overlook how traumatic and dehumanizing this practice really is. So the justice system sucks. What else can we do? We need to move away from punishment. Even if the justice system prosecuted perpetrators, shipping them away is not accountability. Many social circles need to reevaluate their relationship with rape culture. The court decision is so far removed that it alleviates communities of any responsibility to confront the norms that created an abuser in the first place. Instead, we should focus on preventing this violence. A review by Harvard says that consent is a core topic taught in sex education, which is vitally important since our society has failed to teach people what consent actually means. And thus, teaching consent is key to preventing sexual violence. Still, harm will occur. After this, we need to focus our efforts on helping the survivor, and then waste the money in the justice system, which isn't giving us results anyways and is actually creating harm. We can invest into tangible, immediate solutions, like shelters, healthcare, childcare, and cash stipends for the victims. UNICEF says that this helps provide safety to escape from domestic violence situations, which could and have escalated to result in murder. With an institution as big as the justice system, it is so easy to feel like you're powerless. Luckily, there's things that you could do today and in your time in college to help. Support ongoing calls to defund ASUPD, sign the petition for Elena, and provide continuous support for the Sun Devils against sexual assault in their protests. There's one coming up on April 28th that you can attend. To summarize and to simplify a complex topic, let's revisit the main things that you should remember to reframe the way that you view justice for sexual violence. Police and prisons do virtually nothing to address the issue. They're actually major perpetrators of sexual violence, and we need to shift our focus from punishing abusers to preventative education and providing services for victims. Remember to hold yourself and the people around you accountable. Sexual violence is not impossible simply because someone is a good person. We owe it to victims in our community to be honest about harm and address it properly.